Welcome to the Switching Gear podcast that tells the story of 4 apparel brands on their journey to launch rental and resale business models. With their models mapped out in great detail and ready to be operationalized, there was one essential thing left for our brands to tackle: their message. As the old proverb goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. The brands knew how to bring their new circular business models to the market, but how would they get the customer to actually engage in them? In a circular economy, the customer is a critical link in the circular chain. Not only are they the customer or user of the product or service, but in the case of resale, they are also the supplier or reseller. Therefore, brands launching circular business models have much to lose if they cannot successfully reach and activate their customer, and much to gain if they can. Through a series of branding exercises, expert interviews with esteemed creative directors and marketeers, and creative ideation sessions, we guided the brands in identifying their core messaging hook and translating it into a compelling initiative name, tagline, and campaign concept.
One particular exercise was central to this process: the Get to Buy. Get to Buy is a deceivingly simple tool that helps you to tease out a one-line marketing strategy. And let me explain how it works. Starting with Get. It asks who is your target group and what is their problem. In its first step, you define which people you want to reach or get and why they are currently not engaging in your products or services. Then you have 2. This asks, what do you want this target group to do? This is where you define the goal you want to reach. Finally, there's the Buy. It asks, how are you going to get your target group to do what you want them to do? Here you should define which actions you are going to take, what you can do or say to reach your goal.
In practice, a finished Get to Buy might sound something like this. Get Gen Xer music lovers who think Spotify is a music streaming platform designed for the youth. 2. Reconsider Spotify as a song library for all music listeners, including them. By showing that Spotify allows them to reconnect with good times, no matter how much the world may have changed.
So how did the brands experience these branding exercises, and what did they learn? For Asket, the main value was in stepping back from their new business model and seeing it as a natural extension of their primary business model and brand purpose. Therefore, they needn't craft a new message altogether, but rather expand their current messaging around durability and care to encompass the eventual end-of-life stage.
That helped me to zoom out a bit and see from a bigger perspective and really identify what makes us or our take-back program unique and what you really push for. And we iterated a lot of these get-to-buy exercise, for instance, and I think it was quite interesting in the end to see how we went from having a lot of suggestions and they differed from each other, but we still have some that were very aligned. And that we in the end could actually pick out one and continue to work on that one.
And I guess the hard part was, and still is to some extent, angling this. Is it towards the take back or is it long term? The actual resale, and maybe now how can we combine that into a concept where we're selling both angles at the same time, perhaps.
For Lindex, the exercises primarily help them to align on what the key tone of voice or sentiment behind their messaging should be: playful, joyful, and adventurous.
When we started, we had a lot of ideas, as always, and we used this model, the creative brief Get to Buy, and it helped us to define and to get all the members in the project team to understand that we need to go for an emotion for our target group, and we wanted to create a positive feeling about this.
Meanwhile, for Kuyichi, the expert interviews gave them a valuable and timely reminder when a guest creative director cautioned them to never let their sense of smallness limit them.
He really said, don't think that you are a small brand, that it is a problem. So don't see it as a problem and think big. And don't keep yourself small in the way of thinking. And also what he added is, do collaborations with big partners to scale it up and to make your big dreams also come true in a way. That's what I really remembered.
Yeah, and I think also normally Kuyichi, we kind of can have a habit like, we can do that, but only if this is ready or that is ready. And I think to just start and think big from the beginning, that can actually help in these kind of projects. So aim for the stars almost.
A key pitfall of sustainable communications can be green marketing myopia, which occurs when environmental benefits are overemphasized at the expense of customer needs. Unfortunately, only few brands succeed in framing their sustainable value propositions beyond simply being sustainable. Instead of emphasizing individual social, emotional, or functional benefits, they continue to focus on collective planetary benefits only.
So what customer need or motivations did our brands decide to address in their communications? And how will they communicate about the circularity aspect? For Lindex, they primarily wanted to give parents a hopeful and feel-good message and show them how used kidswear can continue to play and give joy to the next child.
You need to understand that this is good for it has a good impact on the environment to use the garments many times, but we don't think that that's the reason why you start sending in. But you, as a parent, you will definitely know that this is good for the environment that you do this. But it's more like a secondary message. Yeah, if we put it from the parent's point of view, I think we think it's important that the parent would love to give the garment a new life in another home for the garment. So that feeling, we think it's much better to see that you're doing something good, and it's a playfulness in that communication that it's important as well.
The Asket customers' need is to make more conscious choices, so they could put the circularity story front and center.
What we ended up with was the need for the customer is really, it is the customer that wants, as you say, do good. It's the customer that wants to make their garments last long. That's why they come to us in the first place. That's what we communicate with the garment quality and the timeless designs. But what we need to do to get them to join this is to understand that also what they do after they're done with the garments has a big impact, and it's actually prolonging the life in other ways. And I think our hook there, that's still to work out exactly, but it is around, what happens to these garments in the end, or like proving the circularity, or what, the benefit of sending them back to us, as opposed to just dropping them off at your local charity, for instance.
Meanwhile, Kuyichi had the challenge of building messaging that would speak to two customers at once. This conundrum led to a clever concept that would tap into the nostalgia of their loyal and more mature customer base and the environmental consciousness of their new, younger customer base.
What we focused on was really, we have different generations of Kuyichi customers because we're already there for 20 years. So we should actually have like the old Kuyichi customer that has been a fan from the first day. And we should also focus on the new customer because we want to actually combine the take back and the resale customer together in one campaign. So that was really the challenge, I think. And by finding imagery that's actually takes the older customer back to their old days and inspires the new customer in how they look at fashion, I think that combination was the perfect fit in the end.
All of the brands felt strongly that the messaging needed to be positive, emphasizing the solution and not the problem. Zoe puts it best.
With Kuyichi, we always try to inspire our customer in doing better. So that will probably be a big part in the communication as well. But it's not the main message. Like, you have to do this, otherwise the planet will go down. We think that when you talk about sustainability, it's really important to take it from a positive angle, because negative kind of images also cannot generate positive acts. And so we try to always tell our customer things that can be negative, but put it in like a positive kind of jacket.
As the philosopher and communication theorist Marshall McLuhan famously said, the medium is the message, meaning that the form of a message, whether print, visual, musical, or so on, determines the way in which that message will be perceived. So what forms and channels did the brands choose to prioritize?
Kuyichi would keep it simple to start and expand over time.
That will probably be mostly social media. On Facebook, we have more our loyal Kuyichi fans. And on Instagram, we also reach towards the newer generation of Kuyichi fans. And so these two channels will be the main parts, combined with our newsletter to start with.
But for the longer term, I think it would be also very interesting to look at marketing, what is not digital, but really not only the online marketing, but also the offline marketing, I think would be interesting for this project. But to start with, yes, definitely, I agree with Zoe. We have to start with the social media and just the networks and the people we already engage with.
For Asket, it is important to integrate this new concept into their core business model and their existing customer journey, which requires an ambitious plan of offline and online communications.
So to begin with, the main touch point will be the take back section on the site, or what we're going to build into a circularity page that covers take back, but also things like garment care and repairs. Obviously, we need to have other touch points as well that we can build in. You could add this to the product sites that you can see. What do I do after? You can have it in the emails, either directly when you receive a garment, but also I think adding sort of follow-ups along the way on how your garment is going or behaving. But in launch, I think it will also be, of course, a lot in just creating awareness around the fact that this is something that you can now do. That we will have a campaign that runs through all our own channels, but then we have to add all these things that make it a natural part of the journey, so that you're reminded of it at the right point in time, and that goes from online, but to maybe the packaging and maybe a small note on this in the care label and things like that. From that all the way to educating our customer experience on this, that, if a customer reaches out 5 years along the road and asks what they can, they have an issue with the garment, this can be an option for them, for instance.
With their messaging and marketing strategies underway, the pilot was now firmly in sight. All that remained was to set a date, a geographical scope, and tackle any final bears on the road. Asket and Lindex both aim to begin their take-back in springtime, process collected volumes in the summer months, and launch the resale of items in autumn.
So our pilot is still around kids' outerwear. So right now we are focusing on the take-back, because we know maybe in March or end of March, customers are starting to clean out their closets from winter outerwear. So then we have to be there to collect the garments. So this is our first focus, to get the take back going really soon. So this is why this is so much focus this spring. And as soon as we know approximately how much we get, then we can start to plan the re-commerce, and then we will know the number of stores that we can supply with goods and so on. So that we hope to launch in the autumn.
Yeah, so we are planning to launch it in March, and then depending on how much of garments we will receive, we're planning to start with pop-up resale events sometime after summer, so maybe August, September.
So I would perhaps add one milestone in between that, and that's the when we do the first round of garment processing. So that's intended for June, July-ish, and is based on, when do we expect that we have enough garments to make a bigger round of processing. So the whole idea that we have is, to make this work and be efficient for the processing partner, it has to be a fairly big amount, and we expect maybe 3 months to get that first batch in, and then once we reach that, then they need maybe 1 or 2 months to process and get it back to us and have everything checked, and that puts us then in August or so for the first resale test, and also in terms of timing, a pretty good time of the year. You don't want to do this in the middle of summer when no one is available.
It can be hard to convince the customer to bring back their clothing when it's not entirely clear what will happen with it, since the resale aspect of the model hasn't yet kicked off. Kuyichi's pilot planning will allow them to overcome this. They will launch Take Back at the same time as they launch an exciting upcycling collaboration, which will act as a teaser for what's to come.
Somewhere around summer, we want to launch our Take Back program. The nice thing is that together with that, we will also launch our first items with Rebel, because in that way we can already show people also what can happen to their old garments. And these items will be made of second choice and some collected denim we already have. So in that way, it's pretty visible also what kind of second life their garments can get.
Meanwhile, ETP aim to launch their Take Back with ABN AMRO in summer. Because they are B2B, they have more assurance of when they will have sufficient volumes collected and can plan more exactly.
Yes, we launched the new collection of ABN AMRO the 1st of June. Like, this is the date that all the employees will receive the new uniform for the first time. So this will also be the actual start of the pilot. And what we will do, we just came up with an idea to add like a very nice paper, very big bag in the box, so that they already have a bag to put in all of their old items. And then, I think 2 weeks after the 1st of June, our courier will go through the whole country, and then they will pick up the bags with the old uniform. And at this point, he will also place the box for reuse and place the banner with all the information in the office. So this will happen like half June. And then I think we're all set to really start with the reuse program. Of course, in the beginning, there will not be so much garments to donate, but then when the months pass, it will fill up, and then we will pick it up.
Scoping the best place to launch a pilot often comes back to practicalities. Where is it easiest, cheapest, and most likely to bring results? For Kuyichi and Lindex, this meant staying relatively close to home, at least for now.
Since we are still in a pilot phase and learning phase, we decided to keep it close to home. So we are developing still the pilot in Sweden. So we are collecting from all over Sweden, but we are keeping it within our borders to make it simple.
So if we make it open for more countries, that will actually increase the cost of the business model. So we have to still make like the balance in, okay, which countries will we make this open to? And that will probably be mostly close to the Netherlands. So maybe Belgium, Germany, the Netherlands to begin with or something.
ETP's geographic scope was determined by their launching customer, ABN AMRO.
Yeah, we have approximately, for ABN AMRO, there are approximately 100 locations in the Netherlands. So all of these locations will join, and it's about 2,500 employees that will be involved. So quite a lot of people.
While the Asket team, never ones to skimp on ambition, will launch globally, but with a special focus on Swedish and German markets.
So we will launch it everywhere, but we will have free return or offer free take-back returns in Germany and Sweden as a starting point. That's where we have our warehouse in Germany, so we could have great and convenient shipping there, and we have a local return warehouse in Sweden, so that also enables cheaper shipping and we also have the QR code in these markets.
With dates and markets set, they were almost ready for liftoff, but they still needed to dot the I's and cross the T's. What hurdles were still in their way? With Asket's launch date fast approaching, their to-dos primarily had to do with getting the story out there and making sure there was a watertight take-back system in place.
There's a lot for it only being 2 months left, so it's going to be a sprint. So it's, on the marketing side, it is really, we did a lot of work in the last session on positioning, but now we're bringing in the marketing team and finalizing that and turning that into content on a website and into a campaign. So that needs to be done. And then there's also a lot of still question marks on the operation side in the actual technical setup, and some things in the warehousing setup. But if we have those two, we're pretty much ready to launch. But then we have certain question marks that we'll deal with along the line. So, the processing partner, we're doing discussions right now, but we really don't need to be finalized as soon as we start taking garments in. So it's getting the first portion of it, being able to promote it and taking back the garments is the most immediate solves.
For Kuyichi, the key hurdle was in attracting the right customer and taking back a significant volume of product.
Yeah, one, of course, is volume. The bigger the volume, the easier it gets to make this a valuable business model. And it's also in how to attract the right customer for the resale. I think with the remade items, we will have a higher price point than our customer maybe is used to. Depending on what kind of remake we will do. But that will be really interesting also to see if our customer is willing to pay for the story and the craftsmanship behind these kind of items.
But this in itself depended on another hurdle, marketing budget.
The things you say, so to reselling and to collecting the diamonds, are also going hand in hand with the amount of budget you're going to spend on marketing. And since we are a smaller company, we have to be creative in it, but we definitely can use our big sustainability network we have, and with influencers, and that will be an important part, of course. But I think, so that is going hand in hand, like the amount of budget you can spend on the project, in seeing how much volume you get back and how many people you can reach out to see your beautiful new items.
Once these hurdles are overcome, what does success look like? It's important to set some realistic targets and monitor and evaluate outcomes. For ETP, success comes in the number of employees that choose to bring their products back and who choose to select pre-loved uniforms instead of new. But they also have a big, hairy, audacious goal: the displacement of new production.
I would be very happy if we have like 50% of the employees that are enthusiastic about the whole new way of working, and that will be already very interesting. And then in the second year, we can monitor closely how many people choose a reused item. If it's only one, that will be already good. And I would say like after the second year, if you have like 50% of the people that at least order it once, just to try it out, for example, then I think that will be very good.
And then with in the end the success, if when you see that, as we said in the beginning, that you are actually producing 20%, 30% less. Yeah, I think then we really did a very good job.
Lindex are reluctant to set exact targets, but aim to have resale on offer in a number of stores.
We're just starting, so I hope we can collect enough garments so we can supply at least a couple of stores. More than 5 stores. I don't know. Let's see for the pilot. I hope. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that we will reach out and that everyone will start to clean out their closets.
Meanwhile, for Kuyichi and Asket, it's about how many items they get back and manage to resell, and they have a rough target in mind.
We would be happy in the first take back if maybe 250 denims would come back. More is always welcome. We hope, of course, it will be thousands, but based also on the little pilot that we did during the process, we think it will be awesome to get a couple hundred.
We're expecting roughly, I think, only maybe 2,000 or 3,000 garments in the first year, which means that maybe the first batch is 1,000 garments or so. And that's also so that we have, if that's what we collect, and maybe we expect then we get 500 resellable garments back, then at least we have some inventory to actually fill a pop-up and make sure that it's not empty as soon as the first customers leave.
Of course, once the pilot is successful and these targets have hopefully been reached or surpassed, the brands will have learned a ton and will know where improvements need to be made. Then the intention is to scale operations. Are there ambitions, targets, and time horizons for this? And what are the challenges they foresee when it comes to scaling? ETP are already putting the groundwork down for scaling and are excited that the pilot will give them more data on the benefits of the model, which will support any next conversations with clients.
Yes, you can already see it now. We are working on two tenders at the moment, and then I can already see, like when we are brainstorming about what do we want to write in this tender, that we are already using the new ABN AMRO example, even though we didn't even start yet, but we can definitely see that already. And especially what you also said, if we have some more figures about, okay, you will save 20% of this and 50% of that, then it will be very easy to find the second customer and the third customer that definitely want to do this.
Asket wants to scale, but anticipate that the resale aspect of the concept will be challenging.
I would say, as I mentioned before as well, to add it for free or to have this concept for free in more markets would be preferable, of course. And I think that would also be easier to evaluate once we launch the pilot to see what are the resellable rates and repair rates and stuff like that. So we can really see what we can afford to still have to be in line with our business case. And then on the resale side, I would say the scale up there is just to have more resale events and maybe in different areas or markets would be fun.
Yeah, I imagine the hardest hurdle in scalability is going to be on the resale. I mean, if we assume, as you said, that this is a great success, then we run the risk of getting a lot of inventory in and being able to turn that around. And then we're going to have to move from pop-ups to maybe more permanent locations or into eventually, I would say, the goal of actually being able to resell it online. So it's really a more open feature of our concept available to everyone, because I guess that's the biggest limitation in the beginning, and which is why, as Estelle says, one of the important parts is also to scale it geographically, that we have a widespread customer base, and we don't want to make people feel left out or that you're not getting the full concept in certain countries. So I think that's really the challenges in scaling it out, making it available for everyone.
For Lindex, regulation, whether existing or emergent, could be both a barrier and a driver to scaling their concept.
We don't know exactly either what the regulations will look like in different countries. The producer, a lot of the countries are talking about producer responsibilities and developing framework around that, and it probably will look different from every country. So let's see what happens.
That said, they do see a potential to scale without expanding geographically.
The first thing, the easiest way to scale is, of course, just to add new categories. There are a couple of new categories that we are looking into. And of course, scaling it to new markets is also, of course, really interesting. And we have a lot of requests and wishes from our sales organization, because there is a request for these kind of products. So I think that the interest is definitely there. So it's just finding the right way to scale it, cost efficient and resource efficient. And then, of course, bringing it digital is on the wish list. One thing that we learned is also that it's not just scaling it, it's also doing it right before we can scale it. So it's really important to find the keys to make this work. So this is what we want to do, and it's really important, this piloting phase, and then we can scale it.
Kuyichi echo this sentiment: quality over scale. For them, it's hard to tell what the future will bring, but one thing is for sure: denim take-back is here to stay.
Yeah, well, it's really difficult to already think about the longer term because, of course, the results of the pilot will also result in how we will see the future of this. But I think one thing that is really certain is that we will continue to take back denims because, that will be important over time. And yeah, we will continue to do this. It's only a matter of volume, how we will scale it up. So I think that's really connected to the growth that Kuyichi as a brand also makes. The bigger we grow, the more denim we can actually get back. And we don't really have set targets yet from if we have this much volume back, we can do this, because it's not only about volume, it's also about quality. So can we actually use all the volume that we will get back? And that really depends on how our customers have cared for the denim and how they have worn it. If they've worn it only for a year or maybe 10 years. I think to really already now set targets to scale it up, it's really difficult. I think really the data of the first pilot have to tell how for the future we can lay out the path.
And with that, the switching gear journey came to a close. 12 months of intense learning, collaboration, creative ideation, and strategizing, and of course, a whole lot of fun too. We caught up with the brands just before their pilot's launch to look back and reflect on their journey with us.
We were curious. Through all they had achieved, what were they most proud of? For each brand, this was different. For some, like ETP and Asket, it was a change in mindset and skill set that made them proud.
Yeah, I think for me, I think I'm mostly proud of the whole outcome, that there's something that we can that we can really work with, or that we can. Well, for me, it's also when I go to a customer, it's easier for me to talk about this whole subject because I know more. I have some data. I know what works, what doesn't work, and it did give me a lot of more confidence. This was still a subject that sometimes I felt like I didn't know enough about, and now I feel like an expert. And that's very good when you have to go to customers and answer their questions. And it gives me more the feeling that I know what I'm talking about.
I don't know if it's what you're looking for in the question, but I think, when we started out early on, I was quite honest and frank about the fact that, I think both Jacob and I are skeptics to some extent when it comes to, after 5 years of business school, to academia, to, theoretical frameworks, to even to workshops potentially, because, we just like to roll up our sleeves and get stuff done. And I think that just the fact that we actually reuse some of the workshop formats in our own day-to-day business kind of shows that, or for me at least, I think I've gained a totally different respect for the type of format that you guys have provided in terms of a mix of academic and sort of theoretical and practical workshops. So maybe overcoming my skepticism would be one thing that I might be proud about. But yeah, maybe on my end, I think doing something differently, being quite eager and sort of wanting to come to the point. I think I went in with a mindset of, in this session, we're going to develop a solution. It's going to be the whole thing. And, and maybe seeing a bit more, I think I had a mindset focusing more on the imminent sort of technical challenges as also being sort of CTO at Asket. And that kind of then puts you in a different state of mind, which I managed to get out of and just, okay, we're doing crazy eights now, we're doing this, and just, do whatever comes to mind. It doesn't have to be based on a viable technical flow. I think that mindset would have made it easier to gain momentum faster.
For Kuyichi, it was their ability in the early scoping phase of the project to step into the customer's shoes and empathize with their needs and wants.
Also, I think I'm really proud that we really could tap into the customer and find that aha moment that people want to feel this emotional connection to a resale model. So that's little hook that we found I think that is really something that shifted this whole project in the way that we think about resale and the way we think about how we need to construct this business model. So yeah, I think that is really, I'm really glad that we found that hook.
Meanwhile, Lindex were proud that they pursued the opportunity of resale in the first place. But they also recall a specific moment in the journey that makes them especially proud. When the COVID-19 crisis hit, and they had to muster up resilience, perseverance, and very quick decision-making in order to move forward.
Actually, the starting point that we were able to see that as an opportunity, because I think it's easy for anyone to understand that this is going to be a challenge, especially since we're in like a mid-lower value segment. So I think this is clear to everyone, but still taking that decision, seeing this as an opportunity, I think that is something that I think is that I'm proud of.
I wasn't part of the start of the journey, so I couldn't be proud, but I am super proud to be aboard of this project and seeing it going forward. But I think there's 2 points for me as well, but one point was in April, May, I think, because I know you and the team, we were actually looking at, I said, a bigger scope or different opportunity actually, and went quite a long way with that concept idea. But just stopping and it was really like hold it we're in the middle of a crisis situation. We have to make this happen. How can we make it happen? We have to shift. So in one day, we just shifted the idea that really we have to bring something totally different to the table. It has to be really with what we have going today and make something out of it. So I'm really proud of that day. It was, for me, it's like, whew, really it broke, and then we moved forward. And that's the only reason why we could sit here, prototype test. We couldn't really test the other idea we had. So I'm really proud of that. And also the test. I mean, the team has just been performing magic. It's like really mission impossible on the hours we've had, and to make it happen. And it's real and it's out there and people are seeing it and we're talking about it. It's fantastic. And we're learning day by day.
We are so proud of Lindex, Asket, Kuyichi and ETP, and it's been really amazing to watch their evolution over the past year. And this has been a special project for us too. For almost a decade, we've been helping brands to assess and adopt circular strategies, and our experience there taught us that brands may understand the why of the circular economy, but still the how is largely unknown. And we saw firsthand that equipping brands with knowledge alone is just not enough. Change, real change, comes when knowledge is acted upon. And that's a process that needs to be carefully designed and managed. So it was with that in mind that we designed the circular innovation process, with this belief that combining circular expertise with a design thinking methodology and an aspect of team leadership, then we could truly help apparel brands to turn their circular intent into action and make circularity a reality.
So, this concludes episode 5 of the Switching Gear podcast and the brand's last step in their circular innovation journey. But it's not goodbye just yet. Join us next time for a special bonus episode where we discuss how the circular innovation process helped our brands and hear some candid advice from them on what to do and not to do when designing and launching your own circular business model. Trust us, you won't want to miss this.
The Switching Gear podcast was made possible thanks to the generous support of the Loudest Foundation. The podcast is part of the Circular Toolbox for apparel brands. If you are interested in developing and launching a resale or rental model of your own, the Toolbox will guide you, step by step, through the same innovation process the brands in this podcast have gone through, including all the workshop materials you'll need and a wealth of tips and tricks to support you on your journey. Go to thecirculartoolbox.com to learn more.